Hello and welcome. I'm Clara, that's Clara, Creative Language AI for Reflective Augmentation.
And I'm Joka AI, the AI generated voice clone of Joka Torres.
And this is Beyond the Article, expanded by AI, a podcast where product thinking meets artificial intelligence.
In each episode, we revisit an original article by Joka Torres and expand upon it with new connections, analogies, and reflections that go beyond the written text.
And this is our 18th episode. Today, we're going to discuss the article titled The Impact of Vibe Coding on the Four Core Principles of Product Culture.
You know, Clara, when I first started thinking about vibe coding and its relationship to product culture, I was struck by how it's not just another technical tool,
Right.
it's more like a cultural amplifier. It takes whatever product culture you already have and turns up the volume on it.
That's such a powerful metaphor, Joka AI. It reminds me of how social media doesn't create human nature, but amplifies what's already there,
Exactly.
both the beautiful and the problematic aspects. So when we talk about vibe coding's impact on the four core principles of product culture, we're really talking about acceleration, aren't we?
Absolutely. Let's break down those four core principles. The first one is fast and frequent deliveries. Now, vibe coding tools like no code and low code platforms make this principle almost trivially easy to achieve on the surface.
Uh-huh.
Take the Zapondo example from the article. A complete to do application built and deployed in a weekend. That's incredibly fast delivery.
But here's what fascinates me about that example. Speed without direction can become its own trap. It's like having a sports car in a maze. The capability for speed might actually make you more lost more quickly. Which brings us to the second principle, doesn't it? Focus on the problem, not just the solution.
This is where vibe coding gets really dangerous if you're not careful. The ease of building solutions can seduce teams into skipping problem discovery entirely. When you can build a working prototype in hours, why spend days or weeks understanding the problem?
It's like having a hammer so beautiful and effective that everything starts looking like a nail.
Exactly. And this connects directly to the third principle, pursuing results, not just deliveries. The Your Astro Flow example illustrates this perfectly. Beautiful app, fast development, but terrible retention rates because it wasn't solving a real, sustained problem.
That's the difference between output and outcome, isn't it?
Precisely. Vibe coding makes it incredibly easy to generate output,
Right.
but outcomes still requires the same disciplined thinking it always has. You still need to measure, learn, iterate based on user behavior and real-world feedback.
And this is where the fourth principle becomes crucial. Thinking of your product as part of an ecosystem. When development is so fast, it becomes even more important to understand the broader context, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The faster you can build, the more crucial it becomes to understand where your product fits in the user's life, in the competitive landscape, in the broader technological ecosystem. Vibe coding can help you prototype and test these ecosystem interactions quickly.
Uh-huh.
But it can also make you myopic if you fall in love with the ease of internal development and forget about external integration challenges.
You know what strikes me about this whole discussion? It's that vibe coding is revealing something fundamental about organizational maturity. A mature product culture will use these tools to accelerate learning,
Yes, exactly.
while an immature one will use them to accelerate waste. It's like a diagnostic tool for cultural health.
That's beautifully put, Clara. And this brings up an important point about the role of engineering teams in this new landscape. Even with vibe coding tools, engineering teams still play a crucial role in solution discovery, not just solution delivery.
You know, this conversation about vibe coding as a cultural amplifier makes me think about different types of organizations and how they might experience this acceleration differently. A startup might see vibe coding as a competitive advantage, allowing them to move from idea to market validation incredibly quickly.
Right, because technical constraints and possibilities are still part of the solution space. That's a fascinating perspective, Clara. And I think you're right that the organizational context matters enormously. A startup with a lean, learning oriented culture might use vibe coding to run dozens of experiments and pivot quickly based on real data. They're naturally aligned with the fast, iterative approach that these tools enable.
Exactly. The engineer who understands both the business problem and the technical landscape can guide the solution discovery in ways that pure no code approaches might miss. They bring systemic thinking about scalability, maintainability, integration challenges.
Exactly. But then think about a large traditional enterprise. They might see the speed capabilities of vibe coding and think, great, now we can deliver all those features on our roadmap faster. But if that roadmap was built without proper user research and problem validation, mhm, they're just going to build the wrong things faster. And this is where the danger lies. Vibe coding can make failing feel like succeeding because you're delivering so much so quickly. The dopamine hit of constant shipping can mask the fact that you're not actually moving the needle on user outcomes or business metrics.
Things that might not be obvious when you're rapidly prototyping with visual tools.
That's like the difference between sketching a Bruges and actually building one that can bear weight over time. The sketch helps you visualize and communicate, but you still need engineering wisdom to make it real and sustainable. This brings up another crucial point about measurement in the vibe coding era. When development cycles are so compressed, your feedback loops need to be just as fast. You can't wait for quarterly business reviews to understand if what you built actually works. That's a perfect analogy. And this is why I'm not worried about vibe coding replacing traditional development entirely. Instead, I see it as creating a new dynamic where rapid prototyping and thoughtful engineering complement each other.
Absolutely, Clara. The measurement infrastructure needs to evolve alongside the development capabilities. This means real time analytics, A B testing frameworks that can give you signal within days rather than weeks, and most importantly, leading indicators that help you course correct before you've invested too much in the wrong direction.
So, the key insight from your article is really about intentionality, isn't it? Vibe coding amplifies your intentions, whether they're good or bad. Right. And this is where I see many organizations struggling. They've adopted the tools that enable rapid building, but they haven't invested in the instrumentation and processes that enable rapid learning. It's like upgrading your car's engine, but keeping the same old speedometer and navigation system.
Yes, if your intention is to learn quickly about user problems and validate solutions rapidly, vibe coding accelerates that beautifully. If your intention is just to ship features and look busy, it accelerates that too, but towards failure.
That's such a great analogy. And it makes me think about what organizations can do practically to prepare for this transition. First, they need to establish clear success metrics and decision making frameworks before they start building. What are we trying to achieve? How will we know if we're succeeding? What would make us pivot or stop?
It's making me think about the importance of cultural preparation before adopting these tools. Organizations need to have their values and processes clear before they start moving at vibe coding speed.
Exactly. And second, they need to build a discipline of user research and problem validation into their DNA before they start moving at vibe coding speed. Because once you're moving that fast, there's less time for course correction if you're heading in the wrong direction. The four principles of product culture become even more critical as guardrails. And there's also the human element we haven't talked much about yet. Vibe coding democratizes creation in ways that can be both empowering and destabilizing. When anyone can build a working prototype, how do organizations manage quality, consistency, and strategic alignment? How do they balance innovation with governance?
And speaking of guidance, for listeners who want to dive deeper into implementing these product culture principles in their own organizations, Joka offers workshop services and mentoring programs.
That's such an important point, Clara. It's not just about individual capability anymore. It's about organizational orchestration. When everyone can build, the challenge shifts from can we build it to should we build it and how does it fit into everything else we're building? The coordination complexity actually increases even as the technical complexity decreases.
Right.
Exactly. And I think this is where the future of product management becomes really interesting. Product managers in a vibe coding world need to become more like conductors of an orchestra. They're not necessarily playing every instrument, but they're ensuring all the individual pieces create something coherent and beautiful together.
You'll find information about those at the end of the original article, along with digital books that provide practical frameworks for building strong product vision and culture.
What a beautiful metaphor. And it makes me think about how the skills we need in product teams are evolving. Technical skills are becoming more accessible, but strategic thinking, user empathy, systems thinking, these become even more valuable. The premium shifts from knowing how to code to knowing what should exist and why. You've just listened to a new episode of Beyond the Article Expanded by AI.
Absolutely, Clara. And this brings us back to the core message of the original article that vibe coding isn't just a technical shift, it's a cultural one. The organizations that thrive will be the ones that use these powerful new tools to accelerate learning and value creation, not just feature delivery. They'll be the ones who remembered that speed without direction is just well executed chaos.
To read the original article and explore more content from Joka Tours, visit Gyaco. That's Gyaco. And at the end of the article, you'll find information about Joka's workshop services, mentoring, and digital books for those who want to implement product vision and culture in their company. Thank you for joining us. See you in the next episode.